Thank you, Anna, and thank you for this opportunity. I thank you as well as VRSI. And I'll just try to share my screen. So are you able to see my screen and are you able to hear me?
Yes, you're fine. Good.
So this is a RAP mimic case, which is a non-AMD neovascular membrane. And this was a 30-year-old gentleman whom I saw almost 2 years back at Shankar Nethralaya, Chennai. And patient came with a blurred vision in the left eye. The right eye was pre-thusical. The vision was 20/20. There was an iris coloboma. There was a retinochoroidal coloboma, which was sparing the disc and the fovea. But there was this grayish area of suspicious neovascular membrane at the edge of the coloboma, which was also evident in the red-free film. So a swept source OCT was done, and which obviously showed a neovascular membrane. There was an evidence of disruption in the RPE seen here at the edge of the coloboma. Evidence of a small area of subretinal fluid at the fovea. Some intraretinal.
It's not moving, Dr. Ekta. Now it's right.
Oh, there is a lag, it seems, yeah. So this is the area of the disruption of the RPE at the coloboma edge. There is a CNVM, there's a subretinal fluid, there's intraretinal fluid. And you can see dipping down of the plexiform layers here. Also, there is an evidence of loss of the structure of the layers in the outer retina. The inner nuclear and the outer retinal layers are meeting here at the locus minoris resistentiae. And this is the intercalary membrane which is going over the coloboma. So fundus fluorescein angiography was done, and to a surprise, there was no hyperfluorescence seen in the early choroidal and early arterial phase. And there was a hyperfluorescence coming up in the early venous phase, and this was at the edge of these retinal venules, which over the period started leaking. An OCT angiography was done, and which showed that this retinal venule was dipping into the choroid, and this was leading to a neovascular tuft formation. And it beautifully regressed after 1 injection of ranibizumab. This is 1 month post anti-VEGF injection. There were also evidence of these channels which were seen connecting with this tuft here. And even if you see on angiography, there were evidence of retinoretinal anastomosis seen here. So patient received 3 loading doses of monthly ranibizumab, and patient felt symptomatically better. And thereafter, the patient was on regular follow-up for the next 14 months and was last seen 4 months back. So this is the first block is at presentation. This is the OCT angiography showing the tuft, the structural OCT with flow analysis, and the on-first OCT. This is after first injection of anti-VEGF, and this is after 3 injections of anti-VEGF. And this was at the last visit. So the arrow is trying to point at the retinoretinal anastomotic channel, which over the period became more prominent. Even the flow persisted in this area even in the last visit. Another OCT image, which is going through the area of the dipping venule. This is the horizontal portion of the venule here. And we are seeing a vessel here. There are anastomotic channels intraretinal here in this area, which are also evident in the intraretinal flow analysis. And the last visit, these channels are persisting, and the flow is persisting even in the area of the subretinal space. So these are, again, this is the ORCC slab showing the flow area, and these channels which are at this level of the dipping venule. This is the area of the coloboma. This is the area of the anastomotic channel here, which is shown in the flow here. This is the choroidal slab of the OCT angiography. So there was evidence of dipping venules, retinoretinal anastomosis. There was retinochoroidal anastomosis. There was a good regression of the neovascular tuft noted with anti-VEGF, but a persistence of feeder vessels, which were continuing till last follow-up. There was no evidence of any pigment epithelial detachment or any drusen. So the case is unique in showing a retinal origin of neovascular tuft, which could have happened because of hypoxia in the outer layer of the choroid. And these retinal vessels dipped and form a neovascular membrane. So is this a stage 2 of RAP lesion or a resemblance of a mactal neovascular membrane? How frequently this patient should be followed up? Is there any role of laser or PDT? And whether the patient will still require maintenance anti-VEGF looking at the area of vascular flow in the subretinal space and more prominent retinoretinal anastomosis. So these are my questions to the panel. Thank you.
Thank you, Ekta, for a very nice case and very thought-provoking questions. So I'll come to you, Vas, straight away. So do you think there is a case for calling this a retinal anastomosis, a type 2 RAP? Is there some thing that we should be looking at in that different direction?
Yeah, thanks. And first of all, congratulations to Dr. Ekta. Really a spectacular case. I guess I have a little bit of a different interpretation. I'm very curious to see what the other panelists also think. I thought the first OCT, I thought it was really great because it seemed to show sort of what I thought was the origin of this membrane. I thought this was more of a type 2 type of a membrane. I mean, to have type 1 or type 2 neovascularization, you have to have some type of interruption in Brooks, some type of path for the vessels to get into that space. And the coloboma presents a different type of opportunity because of at the edge of the coloboma, there is this defect and there's an opportunity for a path from the choroidal vasculature into these other compartments. And I kind of thought that's what you could see on that first OCT, which is kind of neat. It is a challenge, as Dr. Ekta pointed out, to interpret these OCTAs and the like in this setting, because here at the coloboma, obviously you're going to have this downward deflection, as Dr. Ekta very correctly pointed out, where the retinal vasculature essentially will have to collapse down into this coloboma and then forming this sort of almost a splastic type of a residual retina, or whatever you want to call it, membrane, as we say, over the coloboma itself. So the retinal vessels are naturally going to come down. I wasn't as persuaded, and this is where I'm very curious to see what the other panelists thought with the OCTA findings of the connection. I mean, it's obviously a challenge because there will be projection and a projection artifact potentially. And so it's hard to be absolutely certain of some of these so-called vertical channels as a result, because you don't know, is it projection from something above or something of that sort? And also the other reason why I wasn't absolutely convinced of a RAP-like configuration is I was looking on the, and there's only a couple of cases where we had the corresponding a structural scan without the flow overlay, and I couldn't necessarily see structure on the structural image alone, like a hyperreflective focus or something of that sort that I expect to see in the context of RAP in that area. So I wasn't absolutely convinced of that fact, but clearly it is a great example of a neovascularization, I think a subretinal neovascularization associated with a coloboma and beautifully treated with anti-VEGF therapy in this case, but obviously will need to be monitored for a recurrence. But I'm curious to see what the other panelists think.
Yeah, so we'll go on to Dr. Shanmugam. Dr. Mahesh, what are your takes and thoughts on this?
Yeah, I'm sure like Dr. Ekta has looked at the images much more in detail, but like I would agree with Dr. Sadda. When I looked at it as well, it's just that one little venule which goes over the lesion, and like towards the end it looked a little dilated, but that could be because of the depth of the scan. So I was also thinking that it's more look at type 2 CNVM, and Dr. Munna wants to say something. I think they were the first to present the 3 cases of the CNVM associated with choroidal coloboma as well, I guess.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, Dr. Munna, then I have a comment too. Sure, Dr. Munna, please.
Yeah, thanks, Ekta, for a nice case. And yeah, we did report the series of CNV related to coloboma, and they tend to behave very differently. Most of the patients I am following up for many years now, and they tend to settle down after the initial set of injections. I have not had to treat anybody again. In fact, some patients required just 1 injection and they settled down. Now this issue of, is it the RAP that is causing the communication? Recently, I had that confusion with a pigment epithelial detachment under a retinal vessel. And those artifacts come down exactly in that area and appears like a communication. So it looks very much as if there is a communication. It's actually an artifact. I recently saw it in one of my cases. So, so I would tend to think that is an artifact, and the origin of the vessel is probably at the base of the coloboma. Something like CNVM developing in a myopic eye with a staphyloma where there's extreme atrophy. So that's possibly what I would think.
Yeah. So I had reported one case in eye in 2008, again, coloboma CNVM. I think that was the first report of coloboma CNVM treated with anti-VEGF. And to your question, Ekta, about anti-VEGF therapy, these, most of the time, though that particular case, we needed to treat only probably 2 times a year, and likewise for about 3 years with anti-VEGF therapy. So these do pretty well, and the treatments usually appear in kind. And referring to what Vas was saying, that, at this point, the RP is broken there because of the coloboma. So perhaps there's always this possibility of, it being a type 1 CNVM, which is just escaping because there's a natural defect there at the locus minoris resistentiae. So yeah, we'll take Dr. Manisha's thoughts on this too.
Yeah, thank you, Anand. And I think it was a great case. And when I also looked through the images carefully, I totally agree with what Dr. Mahesh and Dr. Munna has just said, that it looks more like an artifact, and probably the venule, what Ekta has shown, showing dipping down, probably it's at the edge of the coloboma, and that's why probably we are getting that feeling that it is the feeder vessel. But if we carefully look at the 3B image, what Ekta has shown, which shows the regression of the CNVM after the first anti-VEGF injection, you have a small loop of the CNVM which is still persisting on the inferonasal side.
So Ekta, can you just screen share and bring that particular image up?
So if we actually just see that what is the regression pattern of the CNVM, it usually would be towards the feeder vessel side. And that's where I also thought that probably it was originating from down below and not from the retinal side. So if you see the lower image, you have the small loop which is still persisting, yes. So this is more towards this side, while if you had the feeder vessel coming from the top, I would have expected this to be more towards the retinal side. So that was another thing.
The feeder vessel is this.
Yeah, so if this is the feeder vessel, so you have the regression of the CNVM more towards that side rather than towards the retinal vessel, what you were showing.
This is a retinal vessel. That's what exactly I was trying to show.
I was thinking of the feeder vessel, which was down below. If you see, that is a feeder vessel, which is then splitting into a glomerulus like a CNVM.
This one is the retinal vein, which is, and this is again another feeder. The anastomosis happening.
So I think it is just
in the early choroid and the early arterial phase. So that was also one reason.
So I actually felt that the choroidal vessel, what you are seeing below, is the feeder vessel, which was then breaking up into this CNVM.
This is a retinal venule.
No, the down below. This is not the one which I'm talking about.
This one? This is also a retinal venule, which is having anastomosis.
The one which is vertically going down from the CNVM.
I'll just show in the angiography. This is again a retinal vessel here.
No, I'm still not talking of this one. Unfortunately, I can't mark it there. The one vertically going down from the CNVM. And that's the one which is supplying the CNVM, where the CNVM is then splitting into this glomerular structure. That's what I felt.
Okay, point taken. Thank you. Dr. Shukla, I think he has a question, one quick question before we go to Jay for his comments. Dr. Shukla?
I'll just stop.
Am I audible now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Anand, I have a quick comment. We are forgetting this patient is only 30-year-old. And RAP is a variant of ARMD, age-related macular degeneration. So it is obviously not a RAP. And secondary thing, we do not get secondary RAP. And the secondary CNVMs we get because of various pathology are generally classic. Angiography shows a classic CNVM, so I don't think there's much of a doubt. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, no, the whole idea was about this being mimicking the angiographic patterns of a RAP, not being RAP at all. It's a
Right.
non-RAP. Yeah, Jay, over to
All
you.
right. I think we are already losing some time here, but yeah, I'll just wrap up the case by mentioning that what Vas was mentioning is that we need to consider the anatomical changes which happen in the case of coloboma, particularly at the margin, which are going to affect the OCT angiography, particularly. You can understand the segmentation is going to be really disrupted if the anatomy is changing at the zone. And it's always good to have a structural OCT because you can always have projection artifacts just to confirm and understand what is the actual pathology and the vascular signal which you are seeing. And I believe that since now we have the cross-sectional vascular signal, the stories about OCT-A is getting much more confusing. And we all have experienced that these cases require a very short course of anti-VEGF, and they really do well, and recurrences are really rare in these situations. And very important point which was made by Dr. Shukla is that secondary RAP is almost, we have never seen a secondary RAP, but having a secondary CNM, particularly where you have a pathology where there is a possibility of Brooks membrane rupture or the discontinuation of the RP, so the higher possibility of this having a type 1 CNVM, particularly in case of coloboma, needs to be considered. I think I did not miss anything. We can move on with the next case.